Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Life is Better with Music with Gavin and Mitchell. So last week we dove into whether or not drum corps international is worth it, regardless of the section you go for. And we ultimately decided, yes, it's worth it. Tune into that episode if you're interested in drum corps, and you haven't had some of your questions answered. We answered a couple questions that are kind of common in that realm of beginning drum corps seekers. This week we're kind of diving into judging, and it's more. It's not like, oh, what style of judging. It's more kind of judging overall, like whether it's drum corps international, bands of America, U.S. band circuits, state circuits, WGI circuits, also show choir circuits and like fame show choir. Because regardless of what circuit it is and what type of art it is, they're all slightly different, but they all have these similarities that connect them. But again, it's kind of just more the overall judge experience. So the first question, and I'll let Mitchell take it off first. What do you personally think is a judge's responsibility?
Well, it depends on what kind of responsibility are you talking about. Are you talking about like ethical or
I'm thinking more the responsibility they they should have in your eyes. Like, what do you
all right.
think should be their
So
main
I think
priorities?
a judge should be there to, offer constructive criticism on someone's show or performance. Um, and eventually, if it's competition, rank the groups from, where you thought they were in terms of how clean their program was, how intricate it was, in specifically in whatever caption you are judging. If you're talking about a marching band judge, um, like who played their book the best. Um, if you're a music judge, who marched the best, who visually performed the best. If you're a Viz judge, and if you're a GE judge, like like who gave you the overall best like wow factor, like
The best
who
best
impressed.
package.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking along those lines. And then when I asked about the ethical part, I was like, I'm thinking of like how you don't need to let bias influence your decisions. Just because a group won last year doesn't mean they're gonna win. Doesn't mean they should get everything handed to them the next year.
hmm If in my opinion,
They have to earn it.
they they should
Everyone
they
has to
should
earn
be
it.
they should be judged even like harder in a
I don't
way.
know. I don't know
It's
about
like you're
that.
a champion, you should perform the level of a champion again if you really think you deserve it. It should be better than last year or better than everyone else. But that's just I
I
just think if
mean,
you're a champion,
yes.
you should come in
However,
blazing, like guns blazing. Like
my thing
I want to
about
be
it
wowed.
is that I don't think that um that's really like true personally. I feel like you know, of course, every group is different. Like every year is different. Like, the 2018 group is not the 2019 group. Even though, the 2021 group or the 2022 group is not the 2021 group. Broken Arrow. Um, sorry, just had to be said. Um, but it's not, you can't really judge each group. Like, you cannot reference each group. I mean, of course, you can reference, like, if there's a group that has sustained competitive success over the past like 20 years, like let's just say Carmel, like them or not, they have been at the forefront of our activity for a long while now, for the last at least 20 years. Um, sure, they've had some down years. Sure, they've had some down years, which is just fifth and fourth place. But 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 you can't really judge. You have to judge each group different. Of course, you can get the vibe of what your group you're expecting from a group, because of the reputation, but you can't really put too much stock in that.
My thing, again, I'll disagree back, is my thing is, say I'm a judge
Right.
and say I saw Hebron 3 times that season
Hmm.
in the same circuit. I'm gonna judge them harder each time
I
because
mean,
I saw what they had flaws in the previous show, and if they did not
that's
fix the flaws and they didn't fix the constructive criticism I offered them or fixed most of it, then I'm gonna be like, okay, so none of our comments mattered, and you didn't go through that and fix
yeah.
it. And
No, okay.
I'm
I
not
get
saying
there.
Hebron did that. I'm just
No.
saying, for example,
No,
so
no, you're
every
right.
show,
I agree.
I'm
I
gonna get a
agree there.
little, I'm gonna break down on them a little more. Like, hey, last week I think your show was a little better than this week in these certain categories, and that's why I'm
Right.
saying if a grand champion, 3/4 of the class is the same. You have
Right.
one new class. Yes, it's
Give
not
or
the same
take,
group,
yeah.
but most of the group is the same. So in like saying just from 18 to 19, for example. So person this is where my comment I was more trying to say, like not judge them harder, but say again, Karma won this year. If I was a judge next year and say I was one this year in Grand Naps, and next year I was also one, I would look at that track record from last season and be like, okay, where did they improve from last year? Where did the group kind of, I won't say suffer, but suffer this year in comparison to the previous year? Like, where is their lack of performance? I guess I should say like that. Like, where is the weaker areas of the show per se? In comparison to the previous year. I can't let that factor fully into the score, but that's also something
Right.
in my mind I'm gonna probably let run through when I think about it. Because again, like you can see programs jump from like eighth to third place. Like, and it's because the group changes, like you said. So that but again, that's just how I'm it's more throughout the year. If I see a group multiple times, each time I'll judge them harder. Just because I've seen the flaws. They should be able to fix those flaws, say in 2 weeks. Like, oh, that form was a little messed up, or the tuning here is a little off. Like next week it should be fixed. Like, so that was always our goal throughout, like Licking Heights, is every comment we get, we try and fix that before the next show,
No, yeah, of
regardless
course.
regardless of
That's
if that
everyone's
judge is
goal.
there.
Right.
But again, I think the overall responsibility of a judge, my personal belief, is the judge needs to be constructive, regardless of if it's whatever show choir, marching band, WGI, whatever it is. They need to offer constructive criticism, give praise where praise is due, so it's not just a tick tape, and don't be biased and pick the best overall performed show in all areas. Say you're visual, you need to find that perfect visual. Don't set your standard too high early. Like
Right.
you need to look at that page and be like, hey, okay, this is how I'm gonna score this in my mind. Because there was a group like this season with again, this is just Ohio circuit, like a group that went on early in the day. Again, going early is more of a risk because the judges tend to,
Well, they have to leave a gap.
yeah, it's they tend to score a little lower because it's like they don't want to set their standard too high.
Right.
But this group that no one expected to win visual won visual, and it was like, whoa, like some of these BOA bands are here and they didn't get Vish, like this, and they had great shows, so it was that standard, and that's when they put like the 0.25s, all that. But it's just that's an example. Like you need to a judge needs to go into this judge, um, like this panel and be the best judge they can be and actually offer ways to succeed in the areas that the show may be weak in,
Yeah.
rather than just being like, this was bad, that was bad, the tuning here is off. Be like, oh, the tuning there was great. Like, if you can get this other area to sound like that, offer ways to and areas and examples on where to fix and how to fix it, like this area, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my thing. But again, moving on to the next question, what is a judge's responsibility? It's more just judge the shows and pick who deserves to win.
Correct.
And then our personal opinion is don't be biased. Don't be
Yes.
biased. Like, and it's so hard. Everyone has a bias. That's the thing. Like, you can't just be like, oh well, we'll pick people from different states. Okay, like they still watch band, they still watch show choir. Like
Right.
they know who these big names are. Like you can almost go you like if you go somewhere in the country and you have a big BOA marching fanatic and and a director in marching band who does the activity well. Do you know who Carmel High School is?
No.
There's no way they're gonna say no. Like
No,
like
yeah.
maybe like 4% will say no. I don't even think that, but there have been
No.
people I've said Carmel and they've been in it's a band in B where they're like, who's Carmel? I'm like, how do you not know who Carmel is? Like
Who? Who? Come on. Come on,
no,
spill.
that's an
No,
after
spill.
podcast thing. I can't.
Spill.
Um, but it's just like a judge needs to be unbiased, make the activity fun, and actually be constructive. And not just judges, also people who audition, like judges for auditions as well.
Yeah.
You can't just go up to an audition and then not know why you didn't make it. Offer constructive criticism to where the next time or next audition, if it's for a
Hmm.
different group per se, you actually get constructive criticism. So, like, just saying, like a private lesson teacher, like, I'm a
Huh.
judge. I judge my students. I get them better and offer them criticism and how to fix that. I
Yeah.
give them tools on their tool belt on how to fix it on themselves. But
Yeah,
moving
that's
on
what
to
you
the next
should.
question. How do
Let me pull
you
up. There
Yeah.
we go.
So next question is, how do you think judges should handle their judge sheets? And I think we kind of touched on it. I think you need to break your sheet down. Like if it's not broken, usually they're broken up already, but you need to break it down even more. Because you can't
Yes.
tell me, oh yeah, you got 30 points for this. Like, no, I got like 300, like 30 point, like blah 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 blah, point 001's this. Like you gotta break it down,
Yeah.
especially like with these big groups, like in show choir when you have fame and you got some of the best show choirs in the country going down. Like one move could be slightly off in this group, and I need to catch that as a visual and choreography judge and
Hmm.
marching band. I need to be looking at those feet, at it, seeing if there's a phase in time, and then if they had a phase in time and this group didn't, that's a tick.
Hmm.
It's like and that's the hard thing about a judge, that the responsibility they hold is almost sacred. It's like it's a sacred job and it's a sacred opportunity to judge all these amazing groups. But there are some judges who don't offer the ways to fix and don't break these judge sheets down to where they're peaking too early.
Right.
Like again, like how groups can peak too early. It's because of the judge panels.
Yeah.
Like again, like if we threw a Carmel or Tarpon or Wando over to Texas, their score will be higher. Then they go back that next week, it could be 3 points to lower. Like,
Hmm.
and that's the thing. It's those judge panels and the judge
Well,
sheets
that
and
and it's also you got to think about the competition, and you don't want to leave a massive gap in competition.
exactly.
Like,
That's another thing. That's why you need to break your sheet down because
Well,
So
no, I mean, I'm getting along the lines of because if there are so many groups, like so many good groups in an area that are all pushing each other, you can't just have one group be like at like a 97 and then the rest of them at like a 94.
well, that's what I was about to get to is
You got to
you
get to the
can't
quality of
have
competition.
giant score gaps like at Grand Naxos here. The score gaps were like all close, and then Carmel was up there. And I don't care what you
Yeah.
say. There's no way they were up that high. It needs to be closer. There's like, show me the judge sheets.
Right.
I want to see how the judge broke it down because, and this is the same with drum corps. Like it's like you have all these great corps, bands, show choirs, indoor groups together. You're gonna tell me that a winner's all the way up here in that second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh are all this close? No, no, all of them are. They're all close like that. Maybe getting down in that bottom half of like final 12, it starts to expand a little bit. But like, especially this year with drum corps, like the score, like we got a tie in second place. Like they were doing like good with the scores being close, a little too close. Never should be a tie, in my opinion. Just there's always a tick somewhere. You can't tell me there
No,
wasn't a
you're right.
tick in Blue Coats or there wasn't a tick in Boston. Like you can't. That's
Yeah.
why I'm like, I know we like watching the shows, but you gotta judge. Like you
Hmm.
gotta judge. Because again,
No,
they're
you're
probably
right.
there all 3 nights anyway, so you'll see it at some point without judging. Like I'm
Right.
just saying. And there's YouTube. There's slow marching.
Hey. No, no, no. Flow marching will copyright strike your ass.
Well, I'm saying you can go watch it on
But
Flow
I do.
Marching.
But there is a recipe book with all the cake recipes.
Mm, we don't talk about it.
Hey,
Like
hey,
it's just
it's somewhere. You don't know where.
my thing is the scores, like and them being closer, it kind of shows more of the reality of like, oh, we're close to that group. And that's
Hmm.
why I like the Ohio circuit is our band, like we can look at these scores of all these bands and see the breakdown of every group and be like, oh, like we're really close. Like next week, let's push to, close that gap in even more, like with Grove City, than when I beat Grove City visually.
Hmm.
Love you, Grove City. Um, but oh, we have the awards tomorrow or yesterday for you guys, but um so we have awards, but so that'll be fun seeing all the students again. But moving on, um, I just think you can't just have, unless the show was just a clear, you know,
Right.
riot that it deserved first place that bad, can there be like a huge gap? But I
Hmm.
just think that, especially if you're already having second through sixth place be like point 0.1 apart from each other almost in some
Hmm.
circumstances, like BOA this year, how like so many of them were all right there,
Right.
and then it just expands like a pocket. So that's just my disagreement with it. But again, I'm
I
not the
kind of
judge.
curious. I want to look at this gap again. I forget.
Yeah, it's an oversized gap, I'll tell you what.
Let's see.
And I
Do
don't
I
think
agree
I
with it?
personally don't agree with the
I
placements.
do.
I
Let's
so you
see.
agree with every single one of those placements? We already had this
Oh,
conversation.
not
Yeah.
every single one of those. I agree with
No.
first place. I definitely
Yeah,
agree with first
that's
place.
all you ever agree about
I
is
agree with
first
first place.
place.
I don't agree with fourth, third, or second, uh, or fifth,
Yeah, I was
to be
about to
honest with
say.
you.
Don't even throw Tarpon down there.
No, I'll throw Avon in fifth. I'll throw Avon in fifth. Give me Mason and then Broken Arrow or Tarpon and then Broken Arrow or Tarpon and then Avon.
And this is another thing that we forgot to add about judges' responsibility is to put your personal likings away.
Well,
It
I
doesn't
mean,
matter what you like,
yes,
and it
to an
matters about
extent.
the package of the show. You can hear what the crowd likes. the crowd is going wild on some of these shows that are getting like, you know, shitty scores. And I get it. You can have, but no, before you even jump in, there are 80-year-old judges who are just shooting. And I'm talking about Tarpon because we do something new and we get shit on for it. Then there are other groups the same way. We can't even go to Florida. We can't even compete in FMEA down there because we break too many of the rules. You can't be off the sideline. You can't do this. You can't have mics. You can't have a vocalist.
But
You
you can't
can't
have
do this.
mics.
It's
You can't
it's
have
it's
mics.
ridiculous. And
So what do the small bands do?
they basically told Ford, you can't come to like FBA. And he said, I'm going. And then we performed an exhibition in RP1. Like, and
Hold on.
we can't come off the front sideline. Like it's a whole thing. It's like
But
it's
question. What about all the smaller bands? How do they get their sound
they
produced?
don't care. It's FBA. You're either getting a poor, superior, or an excellent, or a good, or fair. They don't care.
But
You don't
how do
even get
you
a score.
project?
You just get a rating.
That's lame. I would never do that.
And that's
I
how
would never.
states is for Ohio. We don't get a
I
score, we
would.
get a rating.
Yeah, I think that's lame.
And well, again, and this is where I'm like, as like with judging is that's where I'm saying personal ideas kind of need to be put aside. Be professional in that sense is like, hey, I may not like this, but other people might. I'm like that. You may like a certain type of music. I don't, but I'll respect you and respect your liking of that music. Like if
Right.
I Carmel's music, I didn't like some of the music Carmel played this year, but I still respect their book.
Yeah.
It worked with their show. I may not have liked it, but I
They played
won't.
their book well.
What when have I said I've said the book is like easy, but I've never said, oh, the music in the book is boring. Oh, I don't like it. Like I haven't said stuff like that.
No.
I may be like, I don't like the book, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But I've never taken it out of my consideration. Like that's their show. That's their show. I could be like, oh well, I'm gonna put this rep in it, but I didn't make the show, so it's not my rep. So that's where I'm like
Yeah.
the personal opinions. That's the word. Opinions just I feel like obviously you're never gonna get rid of the opinions, the bias, but you also gotta just think about the hard work the students put into this show and what the crowd is liking and how other people like the show. You may not, but your goal as a judge is to find the visual ticks, the music ticks, and if the package works fully together.
Right.
And if the music and the visual collide, like that drill, oh, that drill works with the music really well. Like that's what I think a judge should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Not, oh, I don't like this music. Oh, it's a Shostakovich piece.
Oh.
Like I love my Shosty. Come on. Be like, oh, Mahler.
Ah.
Yeah, see, I know you like Mahler. Shush.
Ah.
Um, but
Fantastic.
so I just
Mahler
think,
2?
and this is moving into how hard it is to be a judge. That's the next question. It's hard. I
Oh, it really
respect the
is.
judges, but I don't think any judge can call themselves perfect. I'm not
No.
perfect. If I was a
No.
judge, I would never be perfect.
No, I would be I'm far from perfect.
Exactly. Every single person, if you became a judge, no person will ever judge the same as another person, which is why I think ties should not happen. Because, like, what's the chances of you guys having this?
You can't
Like,
directly compare one show to another like that and
I
say
don't
that
think
there is
any
not
show
one
is
that
the
is better.
exact same.
No.
Never. Like, never. Not even like Tarpon 2018 to Tarpon 21. Like it's not no show will ever be the same.
Right.
Going down to the 100th decimal place, 1,000th. Like it's just not. I don't think any show is the same.
And
Every show is
you're
unique.
right.
Every performance is different. everyone has their own ticks, maybe a perfect run, this, that. So there's no, you can perform a show in drum corps 80 something times. Not a single one will be the same.
No.
Never. It will never happen. Maybe if you perform that show for billions of years, maybe once. Like, but no, it will never happen again. And that's where I'm like, with the Blue Coats Boston tie. I would have rather had Blue Coats in second, Boston in third, than have a tie. I just hate the idea of a tie.
I think
Like,
ties are lame.
like it's just kind of like robbing the audience. Like, I would have rather heard in third place, Boston Crusaders. Like, okay, we still went up 3 places. Like, come on. Like,
Right.
like we still went up a bunch. So I don't care. But it's just,
My thing is I think judges have the hardest job. And if we're gonna talk about BOA, I'm gonna talk about the semifinals judges having the
oh,
hardest job.
well, in DCI, well,
Right.
any semifinals judge, I think, has the hardest job. Well, in
Because
finals as well, with the top
well,
like three, but mainly
okay.
semifinals.
Nah, but at least you
Make
can tell. I think after semifinals, you can pretty much tell, like,
It's usually
barring
the same
absolute,
lineup almost.
barring
Like if you see
absolute
scores.
disaster, barring absolute disaster, that you could definitely just tell the three. You could tell, you can get the top three pretty correctly, accurately throughout the entire time.
Well, again, in
But
2018, everyone thought top three was like Caramel, Broken Arrow,
okay,
Tarpon, and that didn't happen. But continue.
okay, well, different. That's different. Um, that's different. But no, I think that having like a semifinalist judge, because you have to whittle 30 down 32, 36 bands down to top 12. That's and there were some pretty damn good bands this year that got left out of finals.
Mo and
You
Jane
know,
Johnson, telling you, Mustang,
Homestead put on a
Homestead.
show. Homestead put on a show even when when they got a shitty draw for Indy Super and they didn't make Super Regional Finals. Everyone wrote them off, but they came back and they were like in top 12 in prelims. So
Yeah,
they, I don't know. I think it's definitely a semifinals judge. It's harder. Uh, excuse me. Sorry. Uh, long day. God. Um. No. I think semifinals judges have it harder than anyone else, any other set of judges.
and I completely agree with that. Like in any circuit, having to choose the semifinalists, however many there are, even in drum corps, like it can be hard. Like this year,
Oh,
like having to take two bands who haven't been in, or two cores that haven't been in finals and throw them in there, like Troopers and Colts, like they haven't been in there in so long, and to take like, you know,
I mean,
groups
I'm
that have,
so glad that they did.
oh, me too, Troopers Colts fan page, but
Yes,
like
sir.
it's just that had to have been so hard because it's like, whoa, like I have a decision to make, and who am I going to throw in that boat? And again, with especially with Bands of America, it's like you don't want to make the wrong choice, I guess. Though any of them are the correct choice because there's so many great bands. Like
No,
you
yeah,
can
you're
name
right.
like 8 other bands that could have been in finals. Like
Hmm.
it was a dart on the board in that finals bubble. But it's just so hard. And that's where going back to the breaking down your judge sheet really helps. Like you got to break the judge sheet down to where you're not peaking groups like high to where you're like, oh no, like
Yeah.
now I have to downgrade some of these groups that I think are doing better because I shot this group up.
Yeah, you can't just change your scores after you given them.
Exactly. And that's where it's like, okay, well now I guess all my scores are gonna have to be high or I'm gonna have to drop some scores. And that's
Yes.
where that's the hard part is like you honestly would rather undershoot
Yeah.
and so that where you have moving room. Like, and I hate to say it that way because then you're now undershooting because you can't ever be a perfect judge. That's the problem. That's why it's hard. I
Right.
mean, I'm not a judge. I don't have that experience. I mean, I'm a lesson teacher, so I kind of have it in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's definitely hard. Like it's difficult, but um Sorry, let me look at this next question. We already kind of touched this question, but we said, what do you think a judge should be judging as they watch a show on top of their sheet after they've like broken it down?
I
And
mean,
we've touched it. It's like that you got to be very vigilant. Like if you're a visual
right,
judge, you need to
but
look for the feet
you've got
timing.
to look for your, well, yeah, you got to look for that, but really try to focus on your specific stuff. Your job is to be like, let's just say you're a visual judge. Your job is to be the most knowledgeable and most critiquing of the
The
visual caption.
I agree. And that's where I was saying like you can watch the show another time. Focus on
Right.
judging. That's again like it's hard. You have a great show in front of you. You want to watch it to where
No,
you're on
yeah.
the judge. I've heard judge tapes to where the person just sits there for 2 minutes. I'm like, where are the comments?
Yeah.
Where are the
I mean,
comments?
you don't have to be giving comments like every second of the
Oh,
tape,
but then you have
but
judges like that who talk way too much. I guess not
right.
too much. Great comments, but it's just like, oh, good job at this. Oh, you can fix that up. Yeah. It's just like constant. Maybe one
Yeah.
breath. Like,
Maybe I mean, of course you don't have to like be talking the entire time, but like, you need to, you got to give more critique than spending time watching the show.
and I like there was shows that we did this year, and I have the tape still. I could go back. There was like a couple of tapes that we just did not like. There was a tick tape where all of it was just berating the percussion section, for example.
Dude, that's the entirety
Just
of
like
Kentucky
it
marching band
well, and this
tapes.
is the funny thing. The guy wasn't even a perk judge. So he's not even a perk judge, and he's just nailing the percussion. Like, whoa, you're not the perk judge. Let,
Yeah.
let the perk judge do that.
Let me guess, was it like a color guard or?
I think it was the music, and I get it. It's a
Okay,
music,
okay, now
but
that's fine.
music is overall. Don't just go after the percussion, and then the percussion judge is like, oh, good comments, like giving critique. Like, as a music judge, you're not just the percussion.
No,
You're
but
the brass
it's your
line, the
job to be.
woodwinds, the front
I mean,
ensemble.
but you gotta give all that's where I was wondering, was it like a Viz judge or a music judge? Because both the music and Viz judges still, even if there's a perk judge, you still have to give critiques for
Well,
the
and
perk
I'm not
section.
saying they can't. I'm just saying your whole tape can't just be on percussion.
No, no, that's not your job.
And that no, like when I tell you his whole tape was just saying bad things about the percussion and no critiques,
Hot
nothing.
dang.
It was the whole tape. It was
Hot
just like
dang.
I didn't listen to it because again, I didn't care for the music ones just because I would hear it from like the director, what I had to do with high brass. I'd go ahead and do it. But my main thing is the choreography, the general effect of the show, the visual. That's me. So that's what
Yeah.
I'd go listen to those three tapes and maybe listen to color guard if I need to help with like Doug stuff in the color guard land, like with spacing or anything like that. So it was like I did the visual stuff. And I've had visual tapes to where it was like all they would say is, "Oh, love it, love this, love that." They would say nothing bad. I'm like, okay, so then why is my score low?
Right.
That's another thing. It's like you're either too compliment, like you give too many compliments, you give no compliments, or you talk the whole time, or you don't talk at all. It's like you got to find that medium, and that's another hard thing. Like I prefer the tapes that are like they just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And they take a breath in between movements and kind of finish up what they were saying. I like those ones rather than like they'll talk, kind of settle for a couple seconds. I get it, they're watching, but it just feels like to me the ones that just keep talking, they're spotting it. They're watching. They're judging.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a judge, I think like when I'm listening to a student play, for example, like their French horn, say they're playing Nocturno, a classic French horn solo piece for those horn players out there, and I have a couple students playing that right now.
Am I better than them?
It's I haven't heard you play Nocturno on French horn, but I
Oh,
don't know.
I have not
Um,
played French horn in 3 years.
it's different on mellophone,
It
but
really is.
I'm listening, and every time I don't want to stop them, but I have comment after comment. So again, I have little sticky notes here, so I can be writing
Right. No, yeah.
on the table, like making sure I'm like, okay, this, that. I have comments, and that's what a judge I think should do. Maybe you don't have to say them all right then, and that's what you write on your like your paper. Like, hey, yeah, I wrote a couple things on the paper that I didn't quite get to on the tape. Just some things I saw while I was, watching in between the movements, and this, that. Like, you kind of let them know, like, hey, I didn't say these, but I noticed these as well, rather than your whole tape being about some things and then you don't tell them that the paper will be different, because I've seen that as well, where they didn't say it on their tape, but on the paper it says something random. It's like, like it's like, but then it's weird. Like sometimes they contradict what they said on the paper, so it's like, did they write this first? Did they write
Hmm.
it before they even watched the show, or this or that? But in Ohio judging circuits, I think they do a really good job of, if they saw them last week, they judge them based off what they did last week as well. Like, we had a Viz judge who watched us 2 weeks in a row, and that's the day I won Best Viz. Is the three things he wanted us to fix, I was
Hmm.
already adding them to the show. Like, it was just coincidence. Like, oh yeah, this seems like it needs staged a little bit more. That's all I had left to add. Then we fixed this box rotation, and then we opened up the legs more in the open second. Like, we did a whole re-breakdown of the body. Like, hey, this is open second, now parade rest. We go past the shoulders a little bit to deepen our plie. So it's like, and then boom, we get best vision the next show, like crazy. By
Hmm.
0.1 point, but I still take it. I will still take it. That's one tick, man. That's one. That's one.
Hmm.
I was making the jokes with the kiddos when that happened. I was like, listen, see this trophy? One of you, one, one of you could have messed that up. It was just messing around. But oh, that's the music education questions. My phone scrolled up. Um, and this last question, it's not. I don't want you to answer it the way I have it typed. Should judges do research? As in research, I mean, don't go look at like past scores and be like, oh, let
No.
me let me make them higher or lower than
I
that.
mean,
Like, I
obviously
mean,
look at, think about, if you know the program and you know like where they're like a general idea, like, if you're a judge and you're about to judge Carmel and you've never judged Carmel before and you've never heard of them and you go look at that, you go look, and you see and you know that, and people say like, yeah, they're a 5-time or 6-time, actually 6-time now. Sorry, got to be correct there. 6-time national champion, multiple state championships. This is a pretty, and they're always up there at the end. They're
mhm,
always up in the top three. So obviously you can, like I said before, you can definitely tell
except for
with some
2019.
groups. Okay, top five. Shut up. Okay, in my defense, Avon's show was mid, and the wrong Texas band won. You know what? I said it. I said it. Hebron should have won. Hebron should have wiped the floor. Hebron should have wiped the floor with Vandegrift. It's not even close.
Continue. Continue.
Man, um, should have been a sweep for Hebron, but
Continue.
I will. But basically, you can see, like, you can have a fair idea of like, like they're going to be in this general area. And you look like, I mean, of course there's some programs that you will not know. Like for this year, like some judges didn't know where to put Westfield. They didn't know what to expect from like Westfield High School.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't expect, people didn't expect them to be in finals or close to finals at Super Regional, but like they were, judges didn't really know where to put them because they've never really done BOAs. So, you know, and next year hopefully they continue to go do these competitions. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
who knows? Maybe they decide to take the plunge at Nats and see if they can make semis,
Mm-hmm.
which is definitely achievable for that group. Um, with what they have planned for next year, I think. But I think that judges should do a little bit of, I don't want to say research, but like, know who you're judging. Be familiar with the groups that you are judging.
I think it's okay to look at the past scores and just kind
Obviously
of be
see
like,
like, hey, these are like some of the top groups in the country.
look at past years. I would watch the show. If I knew I was judging Carmel, I wouldn't like watch last week's or anything. I would just watch maybe a show from that year and just kind of be like, what should I be looking for? Like, what are the big moments that I should be staring at? Like, because I know some judges do that. Like, I
I,
know
I actually one of the judges from at Grand Nats in 21 was one of the band directors here at UK, and I saw him doing prelims because he was judging prelims. He was judging Carmel's block, and like two or three bands before Carmel goes on, I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Bolden," and like from the stands, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not much. I'm looking forward to seeing Carmel." And he's like, "Hey, what should I look out for?" And I'm like, so like, yeah. And I was like, obviously, I was like, their ballad, their ballad is fantastic. You should definitely watch their ballad. Um,
he was gonna watch the ballot, Mitchell. Don't worry.
Trust me,
He
he needed to
he
be
was
ready.
in Carmel's block.
He needed to make sure that he was ready to get his socks blown off with Carmel's ballad. Because they played their hearts out. They freaking sounded fantastic.
And
Continue.
this is less of a like this is less of a judge thing and more of a performer thing. As a performer, your goal is to make it hard for a judge to say anything negative.
Yeah,
That's you don't as a judge, I don't want to say anything negative, but my goal technically is
yeah.
to pick out what's wrong and
My
give you
goal is to
constructive
break you
criticism
down.
to fix it.
I
I
will
can't just
break you
say,
down to the bare
"Oh,
bones and build you back up."
that looked like shit." Like, no, I that looked terrible. That feet timing's terrible. Like, what are you guys doing? My job's not to do that. It's,
No,
oh, hey, your feet timing, there's a little off. I would take some time at the next rehearsal. Just run a mat, maybe rep that a couple times. Maybe
right.
the day before the next comp, do it again. Like something like just whatever I think would be best for them. And obviously, it's at their discretion if they want to take it. But um, I know like with Licking Heights, like whenever we got something, sometimes we'd be like, that's personal opinion. Well, we'll look at it, but we may not change it just because, it's
And
we
then you
got
might
good.
not see that. You might not see
Yeah,
these judges. That might be an outlier comment. A lot of other
well,
judges might probably say,
exactly. And that's what I was
"Oh,
about to say. Oh, these other judges have said nothing about it or have liked it. So we're not going to do it for one judge, something like that. But if it's like, hey, I noticed this rotation collapsed. Like, okay, let's go expand the rotation. Let's go fix it. But
yeah."
blah blah blah. We're ranting overall. Whatever circuit you're in, show choir, WGI, DCI, VOA, or any lesson experience or ensemble judging, like you know wind ensembles. When you get a superior rating or this or that. Um, that's also a judging system. So it's like any judging system's hard. But there are always things to improve it, I think. I personally think nothing's ever perfect. No one's ever perfect.
No, no one's ever gonna be perfect.
Everything can be made better. And I just think
As much as the Blue Devils want to say that they're perfect,
they're
and they almost
yeah,
got.
like
Hey,
that one guy who gave them like a perfect visual score.
hey, I'm
That's
fine with it.
not
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
no. I watched it.
I
I
was
was
talking more of like the
there.
99.8 or like 99.75, what they got. Like that stupid. When did they get that? What
Oh,
year
like
was that?
Fellini-esque
Yes, yeah.
14.
Yeah,
I
I
hate
was
that
talking
show.
more. I don't hate it. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. Not my
That and
favorite
Ink.
double show.
That and Ink I don't like.
Ink.
I'd
Ink
rather
was.
watch 2018
Yeah,
than
yes,
Ink or
sir. Drews and the
Fellini-esque.
Hawks, fantastic show. Beautiful show.
Babylon won.
Mid.
Judges did
Mid.
good that year.
Judges robbed Blue Devils of percussion that year
No,
for
you know who they
sure.
robbed? They robbed Blue Coats that year. Blue Coats should have been in second. Blue Devil should have been in third.
Shut up.
The Big Chair Show should have beaten out the little
Okay,
painting.
big chair, and jazz, yes, but hear me out. Painting and
Paint,
jazz.
yeah, painting and jazz. Shut up. I'd rather take Beat. You know what? No, dude, Blue Devil's in fourth. Beast is going above it too. Screw
No,
off. No
no.
Bruckner, no more Bruckner curse. Broken Arrow broke
Uh,
it. Broken Arrow broke the Bruckner
I mean,
curse
kind of, but also
by
not
one
really.
place. But then what was it? Semis they got it.
Yep,
Yeah, because they
they
went
got
first in
pranked.
prelims.
and they got fourth in semis because
That I'm
Mason got
telling
him.
you,
Mason got him. Let's go.
I really wish that they had gotten fourth. Sorry, Broken Arrow, but I just want that curse to be a thing still. That was
I do too.
probably
I would. I'm peace and love. I would
like,
laugh my butt off if
and then
that.
anytime you hear a big group, just dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 like it's like, oh, they're getting fourth.
Yep. That's.
So,
I don't care if they have the hell of the run of their life, but that's that's a fourth place show right there.
Boston, please don't do Bruckner next year. Watch, I feel like my gut is telling me a drum corps next year is going to do the Bruckner.
I have a feeling they will.
I just feel like one core. I don't know if open
I hope it's not the one I'm
world
auditioning for.
spirit.
Hey, I would rather do a jazz show.
Hey, I mean, I can't disagree with that.
Yes, sir.
My gut is telling me that it's gonna be like Boston or something. It's gonna be like Boston. It won't be Crown. They already did it
No.
recently. Like
Yeah.
Boston, maybe Cavaliers,
Yeah.
like maybe
What about
Mandy's,
yeah, I was gonna say, what about like a lower tier, like a mid tier or
Colts,
world
maybe
class? Yeah.
Colts. Like, and I'm just getting that feeling that someone's gonna play it. And as soon as we start watching the DCI shows this upcoming summer, I'm gonna lose my mind if I hear it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be like, well, the thing is, they're not gonna get fourth place unless it's like Boston. Like, I don't think
If
Cavies will. I
okay,
don't
if
think Cavies will
Boston,
push fourth. So,
I
like, if
mean,
it's Boston, they may get fourth.
they've got a stacked staff this year, dude.
Oh, I know we do.
No, I'm talking about Cavies.
Oh, well, we also do, but Cavies, whatever.
Richard Salcedo's writing the music again. Sign me up.
I don't think they're still. I don't think they're gonna go much higher. I don't.
I mean, they might improve a little bit. I don't think they'll get like fourth place or third place, but I think they'll
I think
improve a little bit.
highest maybe fifth,
Yeah.
but I no. Boston has a stacked staff. Again, they're going for the gold. So,
I have to beat the Devils.
hey, listen, if you get in the spirit, you're gonna be in the finals bubble.
Yeah.
So, I will cheer for
See,
Spirit. I will cheer for Spirit even more.
I get to play if I make it in the spirit, I get to play Georgia on my mind.
Hey, my
That's
group,
such a fun.
Looking Heights played it. So,
No, you guys played double one down to Georgia.
I think we played Georgia on my mind too.
Did you?
Somewhere. Yeah, we played like 3 songs that had Georgia in it.
Georgia.
Somewhere.
Georgia.
I mean, I wasn't a big fan of our rep, so I really didn't pay attention.
Georgia. Georgia. Gosh. That should be
Which one were we just singing?
Georgia on my mind.
That was
The
our
whole
opener.
day through.
Dee
Ah, well.
da ba
Oh
da
yeah.
dee da.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh well.
That was our opener. So I told you we played it. Okay, enough rambling. Thank you
Any
all for
Hades
tuning in.
updates?
That's secret. I know we're late, but
Ah,
the holidays have hit hard.
no, that's fair.
Maybe as we approach the new year, sadly, it's just life gets busy sometimes. So
Life gets busy.
it's it's almost done. I have a lot of polishing I gotta do.
For
Um,
sure.
I think the rest of the shows will have a percussion arranger, so it will make it a lot
Ooh.
quicker. Um,
Ooh.
so and that's another thing. Like I've kind of paused it because this percussion guy and I are talking, and I'm like, hey, would you want to kind of just redo these parts? You know, I would like the same kind of idea, but again, I don't know what I'm writing fully. Like I don't know, like crossing sticks on a tenor. Like I don't know if I did bad. Like I don't. Again, I can make it sound how I want it to sound, but it's like maybe that drum shouldn't be hit then. So it's just, I'm not perfect. Obviously, no one's perfect. So,
No.
but hopefully by the end of the year, we can get the first one cranked out. Which we should be able to, but don't take my word for it. But this week, again, we talked about judges. Um, next week we're gonna step kind of more out of Mitchell's comfort zone and more into another realm of the world of music. We're gonna dive into
Choir?
show choir and choir.
Let's
We're gonna
see.
talk. We're gonna talk about whether show choir is like a musical. It's not. It's different. Stop saying it's the same. A
It's not
play
High School
is different than
Musical.
a musical, and a musical is different than a show choir. That's what we'll do next week. Pardon. I'm gonna get like that a little bit next week too. I've always been like, oh, you're in show. They're like people like you're in show choir. I'm like, yeah. Oh, musical. I'm like, no. I'm not
No,
performing a 2 hour show choir show. God no.
no, thank
God
you.
no. The longest
No,
we
thank you.
what we watched like a half-hour one last like on the other podcast.
Oh, that was not fun. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest with
they're
you.
long. They're long. They can be long, but Tarpons
That
were always like 18 minutes, so like ours were
30
short.
minutes is too much.
Listen, hey, it's I'm gonna tell you, a 30-minute show for show choir is probably as hard as a Blue Devil show. I'm telling you, dude. You haven't
I
done
would
show
never,
choir.
I would never do a 30-minute show. I would say, no, thank you.
You're moving your hands as well, and you're moving every part of your body. Like it's not okay. We'll talk about show choir next week. Thank you for tuning in this week. Watch the last episode about DCI, whether it's worth it or not, and the one before that about music ed. And next week we'll jump into the choir world and teach Mitchell a lesson or two. And hopefully this week he'll do some more research. He should remember from the last podcast all the choir stuff, but who knows?
Oh
But
God.
yeah, we'll catch y'all next week when we dive into some show choir and concert choir.